So, you all are well familiar with our quarantine lessons. So, today I'm going to meet my grade 10 students with a new lesson. So, today I hope to bring you a very important lesson in your O-level syllabus, and that is describing a graph. I'm going to focus your attention on 4 major areas. This is because to minimize the errors you make at your O-level paper, right? So the first area is marks allotted for writing at your GCE O-level paper. And my second area is types of graphs and the vocabulary you can use. And my third area is how to interpret a graph correctly. And last, I want to discuss the common mistakes and how to minimize them. Right, children? So let's have a look on our first area, that is the marks allotted for writing at your GCE O-level paper. I mean, that is not only for the graph but for the whole paper. I want to tell you how the marks are given. So in your first paper there are 2 writing questions, and they are the 6th one and the 8th one, and each question is given 5 marks. So overall for the first paper you are given 10 marks for writing. And the second paper, usually the 14th and 16th questions are the writing questions, and they give 10 marks for the 14th one and 16 marks for the 15th question. So altogether 25 marks plus 10 from first paper, and altogether for the whole writing you are given 35 marks. And describing a graph is the 14th question, and it is an alternative question. That means you have to select either the letter or the graph. And I will show you how the marks are given for the 14th question. For content, you are given 3 marks, and the language 3, organization 2, and mechanics of writing 2. So altogether there are 10 marks. And so out of 35, 10 marks is very, very important. So you should learn how to interpret a graph correctly. Right, children? Our second area is types of graphs and the vocabulary you need to describe a graph. Now, I know you already know all these types and it has become your favorite area, but the thing is, it's very difficult to score marks if you make these mistakes. Right? So before that, let's have a look on the types of graphs. So what is the first graph? And you can see the title also. It is a bar graph with some bars. And what is the second type? It is a pie chart. It's like a circle and it is divided into many areas. And the third type is, look at it. There are 2 columns and some rows, and it is a table. In some years you have been given a table to describe. And the fourth type, it is also included in your syllabus. It is a Venn diagram, which you learn at mathematics also, but you haven't been given a Venn diagram yet. So hopefully we can expect a Venn diagram in the future. Now children, look at the vocabulary you need. Now usually the vocabulary you need is given on at the paper, but you should know the meanings. And I have highlighted important words, and in blue color you can see the vocabulary, and in black color you can see the sentence structure. So we'll take one by one. Look at the first one, the most or the least. Why did I write the in red color? Because if you are going to write about the most or the least, The is very, very important. And what is the meaning? Vedima or adu. And look at the second point. Many, a lot of, or some, or few. So the most and the least you can take from one bar. But there can be many students and there can be some students. So the second type of words they describe in Sinhala වැඩි දෙනෙක් ටික දෙනෙක්. But it is not වැඩිම or අඩුම. You should know the difference. And the third one, majority or minority. Majority means bahutarya. Minority means sulutarya. But there you have to write the verb after majority or minority. And the next one is an equal number or equal amount. Why do you write two? Are you going to write both at the same time? No. If the data is given in numbers or the figures, you have to write number. But if it is rupees or milliliters, likewise, you can't count and it is uncountable, and therefore you have to write equal amount of. You should know that difference as well. And the last one, more than or less than. Why do you write more or less? Yes, when you want to compare two bars or two sections, two segments, you have to use more than and less than. And look at the next point. If you are given a pie chart to describe, you have to write the highest or the lowest percentage instead of the most or the least. Because most of the time in a pie chart, the data is given in percentage. That means pratishata. So you can't use number or amount there. You have to say highest or lowest percentage. And the next area is also very important. You should know the axis. The horizontal axis represents and the vertical axis describe. Either you can use represent or describe, whatever it is. But look at the letters I have written in red color. Why did I write axis? Because it is only one. And why did I write represents with S? Because it is singular. And I'm going to tell you the meanings of these two. Horizontal axis means tira sakshya and vertical axis means sira sakshya. So if they are taken separately, it becomes a singular one. Sira sakshya, එතකොට යා ඒක වචනයි. එතකොට අපි grammar නිවැරදි කරගන්න represents කියලා s එකක් දාන්න ඕනේ. But you can write like this also. Look at the third one. The vertical and the horizontal axis. Look at the E letter which I have written in red color. That means you have taken both together. Tira sakshya සහ sira sakshya දෙකම එකට අරගෙන. එතකොට යා බහුවචනයක් වෙනවා. So are you going to write represent or describe with S? No. You can start from represent or describe. And at the end, you can tell respectively. That means පිළිවෙලින්. සිරා සාක්ෂය සහ තිරා සාක්ෂය පිළිවෙලින් මෙන්න මේ දත්ත ටික නිරූපණය කරනවා. And also you can use, instead of describe, look at the words I have given. You can use depicts, explain, shows, tells and interprets, etc. So instead of using the same word again and again, you can avoid repetition by using one of these words, right? So under vocabulary, I'm going to tell you the cohesive devices which help to describe a graph. What are cohesive devices? That means the connectives. Can you write 10 sentences like this? 15 children like roti, 10 children like hoppers, 5 children like bread. Is it nice? No. In writing, they test the connection between one sentence to the other. So you need lot of cohesive devices in between the sentences. Then only your writing is very neat and it is organized. So they will deduct marks if you just write 10 sentences, right? So these cohesive devices are very, very important. Look at the first one, the above graph or this graph. You can start your graph from the first line I have shown here. What is it? The above graph. And look at the second one. After describing what the graph is about, you can tell how many bars or how many items are there in the graph. Look at the sentence structure I have used there. You can start it like this. There are 5 items. There are 6 bars. Likewise, you can write the second sentence. And then you need to separate your writing with 3 paragraphs. So they give marks for your organization, and paragraphing is one of the most important areas you have to pay attention. So you can start your second paragraph like this. When we study the graph, or according to the table given, or according to the figures, or out of the given sample. So if you practice like this, you can easily score marks for your grammar as well, because you can practice this at home and you have to add a very little part at the exam. And you can connect 2 sentences to similar sentences like this, whereas or while. That means vana attara thura. So you can first give one data, and before you give the second data, you can connect it with whereas or while. And if you want to compare 2 different items, what are the words you can use? But, nevertheless, although, that means they show the contrast from the first sentence and the second sentence. I hope it's clear. And look at my next point. Also, at the same time, that means you give a series of data in 4 or 5 sentences, and then again you have to add more. So you can use also, emmenma, at the same time, e atharama, in addition, ita amatarava, to give similar idea. And third paragraph should contain 1 or 2 sentences. That is enough. So to sum up your everything, you can write, you can start it with however. So it will sum up your whole writing. Now I have displayed one graph. Can you identify it is? What is it? Yes, it is a bar graph. And look at the topic, the choice of favorite breakfast food items of the students of your class. You have to pay attention on each and every word. And it is the data is given in figures. Can you count how many items are there? Bread, milk rice, roti, green gram, noodles and hoppers. So there are 7 items. So now I am going to show you how to interpret this graph correctly without mistakes or minimizing the mistakes you make. Right. Now I have displayed a correct interpretation of a graph. So basically, what is the word limit of a graph? Yes, you need to use around 100 words. And you can see my graph description is divided into 3 segments, 3 paragraphs. So usually from the first paragraph, you have to introduce what the graph is about. So 2 sentences would be enough for that. And look at the second paragraph. That is the interpretation of the graph. You have to take all the data one by one, and you have to write at least one sentence to describe one bar or one data. And the third paragraph, it is the last paragraph, you would need only one or two sentences for that, and it has to sum up everything. And in my highlighted colors, you can see what I have highlighted there. Those are the cohesive devices I explained in my early slide. So you can start it like this. The above graph shows. Look at the S and the above, right? So usually you are given what is the graph about in the question also. So you can just copy it. You have to write the above graph shows and then copy the title. It's very easy. Then you would make no mistakes there. But I hope you can remember they have given in your class. Can you write the same word, same pronoun there? No, you have to change it like in our class. If they give your school, you have to change it as in our school. Or either you can write the name of your school. And look at the second sentence. There are how many food items? There are 7 food items. Namely, so you can write 1 or 2 items, not all, right? And then you can describe the horizontal axis and the vertical axis. So you can practice these phrases at home. The horizontal and the vertical axis represent, what do they represent? So your first paragraph is over, but you made no mistakes and it is very easy to score marks for your grammar. Otherwise, you will make a lot of mistakes. You will be deducted your marks. So you can practice these phrases at home and you can write a grammatically correct sentences. Then look at the second paragraph. I have taken all the data one by one. And how did I start? According to the data given, we can see that. Can't you practice that phrase at home? Yes, it is very easy. Then you would make no mistakes. That is what we need. Sometimes you write, because this has become your favorite area. So whenever you see a graph at the O-level paper, you just select it, but you make a lot of mistakes. Ultimately, you will miss marks because there is no grammar in your sentences. So if you practice these structures at home and go, you can easily score marks. You can get at least 9 or 8 out of 10, which is a good mark, right? So I have taken what is the least and the most and all the data. You can read it leisurely, and I would like to highlight my cohesive devices also. In between, you have to write 1 or 2 cohesive devices to connect one sentence to the other. Then you will get marks for the organization and you will get marks for the grammar, and if all the data is interpreted, you can get full marks for the content also. Look at the last paragraph. How did I start it? Yes, however. That means you are going to sum up. It is clear that wheat-based food are more popular among the majority, and likewise you can read and you can get an idea how did I sum up my whole write-up. I hope it's very clear for you now. Right. Our next area is the common mistakes the students make at the exam. It is very, very important to identify your mistakes, then you can avoid them at the O-level exam. Now, you can start it like this. The above graph shows the favorite breakfast food item of your school. In our school, likewise you can start and look at the second one. I have written the first sentence with the mistakes and I have highlighted the mistakes you made. Look at it. the choice of most favorite, because the title it says the choice of most favorite. So you also use this choice of. It's no need, and you have to avoid the word choice of, and then you can start it like this. The most favorite food is milk rice. But what most of you do at the exam is you copy the same thing that you can see in the title. It is wrong. Don't do that. You have to select the necessary part. And look at the third sentence. 13 children are like bread. So that is another common mistake you make at the exam. So how should it be corrected? 13 children, don't write are like bread. So that is also another common mistake. I hope hereafter you would not make this mistake. And look at the fourth one. Most popular food item is milk rice. Do you see any mistake there? Yes, I see. Even the markers will note this mistake. What is it? So if you are going to tell about the most or the least or the highest or the lowest, you have to write the, because most popular is a superlative adjective. Right? Right. Look at number 5. Some children like to hoppers. That is because of direct translation. In Sinhala we say සමහර දෙනෙක් අප වලට කැමති. So in English also you like to write with to. But in the next sentence you can see to is not needed. You can just say some children like hoppers. And the sixth one, this bar graph show the favorite like. What is missing there? It is also a grammar mistake, although it is very simple. Yes, it is a grammar mistake. Bar graph is a singular noun, so you have to write it like bar graph shows. So if you avoid this S means it is a grammar mistake and you will not get marks for your grammar at the sentence. Look at number 7. Roti is like 12 children. What is it? Roti walata kamathi lamai atak. That is also direct translation. But when you are writing a sentence in English and if you want to write the object first, that means some children it is subject. But roti it is the object. So if you want to write roti first, that is a passive voice sentence. So how are you going to write a passive voice sentence? Roti is liked by 8 children. So you should know the difference between the subject and the object. Also the use of subject in a sentence and the use of object in a sentence. If the subject comes first, you have to write an active voice sentence. Also, if the object comes first, you have to write a passive voice sentence like I have shown in my 7th sentence. Look at my 8th example. Bread is more than roti. That is also a very common mistake the children make at the exam. Is it bread and is it roti? Yes, it is about the choice of bread and roti. So you can't compare bread and roti. What you have to do is you have to compare the children who like bread and the children who like roti. So look at the correction. Those who like bread are more than those who like roti. So what you have to do, children, you can study that structure, those who like, but don't compare roti and bread. I hope it's clear for you. Look at my 9th example. 8 children has for noodles. What is it? It is direct translation. ළමයි 8 දෙනෙක් noodles වලට ඉන්නවා. Can you say it like that in English also? No. So what is the phrase you have to use? The correct structure is, there are 8 children who like or who prefer noodles. That is the correct way, but don't use has, because in Sinhala it's very common. Thiyanawa, innawa, you can use has and have, but you have to use this structure when you give the figure. There are 8 children. Look at the last example. The choice of hoppers are more than the choice of noodles. So hoppers, after hoppers I have written are. Now you may feel it as a correct sentence because hoppers is a plural noun, and after a plural noun we write are. But remember children, it is not about the hoppers but about the choice of hoppers or the choice of noodles. Right? So that is a singular noun. So you have to write is. And also there is another mistake. What is it? Hoppers and noodles. That also should be changed because it's not in the first sentence. It is not a correct interpretation. If you study the graph, you can see it's not the choice of hoppers, but it's about the choice of noodles more than the choice of hoppers. So, if you are writing a grammatically correct sentence, but if it is, if the interpretation is wrong, will you be given marks? No. So, children, I think studying about a graph is also important, and studying about your mistakes and how to minimize them is also very important, because you can't write 10 sentences or many things making lot of mistakes. So I hope this lesson will help you to minimize the mistakes you do at the O-level paper when you are writing a graph. And if you practice these structures, I hope you can get all the 10 marks very easily. So let's meet with another lesson. Goodbye.